Hi, this is Arik,
And Aurelia,
and we're here to talk about life and interesting things.
or so we think, but in the end, we leave that up to you.
Either way, what we have to talk about is
Ageless!
So it's really incredible how we are already pretty much in the middle of April, and in my 2022 forecast, I talked about how actually we co-wrote that together, that we talked about the really big transit that's occurring on April 12th. So it doesn't matter if you're listening to this before, on, or after, because it's such a huge event that happens every 12 years or so. And I think one of the first things to kind of bring into awareness is these special events, like these unique opportunities that maybe some come around once in a lifetime, some come around every 12 years, some come around
Every month.
every month. So do you want to talk a little bit about just seizing the moment? What does that even mean?
Well, to me, seizing the moment never has meant more or less than being present. Because if we are present, then we can feel exactly what the energy of the moment is, and then we can act or not act accordingly. Because it's not always that we have to do something, sometimes we're supposed to not do something.
Okay, let's just break that down because that was really packed. So first, you dropped the present bomb.
Sorry for that.
What I think we have to kind of define, like, what does being present mean? And then you also dropped an action bomb. So let's just take them one at a time. So what does being present mean?
Present means that right now, I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you. And I have no other thoughts in mind. I mean, sorry guys. I mean, now I'm talking to you. So, now you have my full attention. But now I'm getting back to talking to Arik, and now he has my full attention.
Mm-hmm.
I am not on my phone when I talk to people. I am not eating, or I am not like drinking in terms of slurping stuff away. Okay, I mean, if I have to take a sip of water, but then, this is like very clear that now I'm with my water. So I'm basically doing what I'm doing, as the old Zen saying goes.
Nice. So being present is doing what you're doing.
Yes.
And it's just like, it has nothing to do with what others think you're doing. It's really just doing what you're doing.
Yeah, that's right. Because, I could look so engaged and have my eyes wide open and this like half interested, half curious look on my face when I look at you. But really, in the back of my mind, I'm doing all kinds of things that have nothing to do with you or what you're saying. I might fantasize about what we're going to do later, or I might think about this guy who treated me poorly and I have a grudge, or, all kinds of things. And hey, you guys, you all know what I'm talking about. And so to the outside, it may look like I am totally engaged, but only I am in my own mind know whether I am or not.
So being present has to do with time and space?
Yeah, I mean, if I say that I do one thing at a time in this space right here, like don't let my mind wander, or, try to multitask, which I know is like so trendy, but
Right.
nobody really can do it.
Right. So that you read my mind kind of, because I think it's interesting. These podcasts are not scripted, at least not by us in typing and writing them out, but it seems that you read the script in my mind, because I was thinking, like, you can't do many things at once and be present.
No.
You have to really just be present with what you're doing, which may require you, because I remember that was a really big hang up that I had with being present, which is, one of the number one things you've taught me. But it was like, well, so that means that then what? Like, I'm just kind of like, I can only do one thing at a time, which means I can't manage like a lot of things at once. But then I realized, like, no, you can be present, and if that means being like a ringleader, and you have to be present being a ringleader, and you have many different things going on in many different rings. If you use the circus, for example, then you're present as a ringleader. But if you are a trapeze artist, or if you're a lion tamer, or if you're the cannonball guy, then you have to be present doing each one of those things. But if you're, or like in an orchestra, and you're the maestro, the conductor, then you're, you can't just, being present doesn't mean, okay, only the flutes, because then that doesn't mean being present, like you dumb yourself down, but you're being present with space and time that includes everything in it.
Yeah, because then you're not a conductor. I mean, you have to be present with what it is that you're doing. And if you're conducting an orchestra that's supposed to be playing a symphony, then, of course, your being present at this moment looks like you have your focus, your undivided focus, like you're present with all the instruments, with all of the notes. This is why, there aren't many good conductors, because can you imagine the amount of focus you need and what kind of a mind you need to have to be present with all of that? And then in that case, to me, it's like such a miracle on top of it, because a lot of the music that they conduct obviously creates a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
And so you have like hundreds of people in an opera house, and you're conducting that piece of music, and everybody out there has like an emotional reaction, and you cannot get lost in that. You just still have to stay with all the instruments, with all of the sheet music.
So if you're present, you can't get lost.
That's right.
So how difficult is it to be present in today's world? I mean, there's so much going on. I mean, how can you be present in today's world?
Yeah, that's a big one. Being present used to be so much easier, because, I mean, let's just imagine for a second how information used to travel. If I would want to reach my cousin in the next village, and the village was like 5 hours away, then it was a minimum of 5 hours until, the mail or a person just walking through could be there and give a message to my cousin. I mean, if I was lucky and I had a horse and knew somebody who was riding, then of course, it was like maybe half an hour.
Or a bird.
Yeah, that's right. Or like messenger pigeons or something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever they're called. I'm sorry, I don't want to offend
smoke
anybody.
signals.
But even then, you have to create the fire. Therefore, you have to gather the wood, and it was a long time. There was a lot of involved. And today, I mean, I don't even know the amount of information we have, like, available to us in a second. I mean, what is the streaming, what they did, like, in a test environment, 300 terabit per second or something like that. I mean, that is a lot of information.
Yeah.
That's a lot of information.
I mean, I don't even know how you can be present with all that information unless you're like AI or something.
I don't know.
Just putting it out there.
AI. But, but that's obviously, that would be true, that would remind me of this one scene in one of the Star Trek's Next Generation, where my most favorite AI Data, he was tempted by the Borg Queen for 0.000000000 seconds, and for, his neural net, this is like an eternity.
Right, so it's like we have a lot of energy coming at us, but maybe our vessels cannot handle it entirely. So you talked earlier about being present and then taking the action. So if you're present, you know what actions to take.
Yeah, if we go back to the example with the conductor, he knows exactly what to do because he reads whatever's on the sheet music in this bar that he's looking at that's supposed to be played. And then he knows exactly what to do, if he makes the drums louder and the flutes to stop, or some other wind instrument is going slowly in the background, or, the violin comes in. I mean, he knows exactly what to do in this moment. And you may say, oh, duh, what a stupid example, because I'm not a conductor. But give me any other example, and I break it down to that.
Okay, a teacher.
A teacher
like a school
of what?
teacher.
What grade?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten. Teaching what?
The alphabet.
Okay. Which letter?
Z.
Okay.
The last one. In English, I guess.
Okay. So here you have your answer. The teacher knows, okay, this is on my itinerary today. We're teaching alphabet to this room full of wonderful 3 years old or 4 years old. And we come to Z, and I know what to do because here I pick a picture of a zebra, for example. I mean,
no, that's exactly how it was. I can't remember if it was kindergarten or not, but yeah, that's exactly how it's learned. Like, you learn with examples and actions and zip, or you just your brain associates with certain actions and stuff like that. So it's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, because the teacher knows what to do. I mean, a card of an ape will not help if he wants to teach about Z.
So presence is a very important thing.
The thing that makes life livable, actually. And you could say, well, of course, she has that example of the conductor, and then she makes things worse by giving me an example of a kindergarten teacher. My God. No, guys, I'm telling you, it really is that simple. If you break it down, it doesn't have... I know there have been books been written about the eternal now and this and that.
Yeah.
And that's all great and good. But really, if you break it down, it is as simple as I have just said. Because if you really focus on this one thing, and you know exactly what it is you have to do in this moment, the moment is all there is.
But it's easier said than done. I mean, that's beautiful and that's true, but it's way easier said than done, because you could be in a moment where you know that you need to do something, but you chicken out.
Yeah, well, that of course is always an option.
And I think it's beautiful how you say that being present is the way to live life. It's like the solution to live life, or however you said it. I think this is beautiful, because I think a lot of times what happens is that people do a lot of things to avoid being present because of trauma. Like, say, for example, they were in kindergarten and their teacher, like, they got the answer wrong and something happened, and then they have some trauma, and so now it's like they want to avoid revisiting that issue, and they think that they're avoiding presence by being present with something that they didn't resolve, like kind of just skipping over it. And then thereby they're not present, even though they think they are present. But I think if you're omitting something from the past, you cannot be present in the moment.
No, because that part of you have not lived. And so you're stuck in that
anchored.
moment. Like, you're anchored to that present. And I know, this sounds really, really, really crazy, but also very terrifying. Yet on the other hand, look around. I mean, how many people do you know who what psychologists called are emotionally 5 years
Emotional
old or
age,
6 years old or whatever. And there is like no way that, let's say, yes, if this happened in kindergarten and they got an answer wrong, that they can freely learn.
There's no way.
No, not, and let's say, but they did get the answer wrong, and on top of it, they got made fun of by their peers. Then they will forever, or until this is resolved, have a moment being present in groups. So,
could you say that then astrology could then be used in a way that we're being kind of guided or scheduled to become present with things that we have chose to suppress or just kind of gloss over so that we can be more present?
100%, because like astrology or the movement of the stars generally, or personally, time,
patterns of time.
Yes, that I love.
Yeah, the patterns of time. Mm-hmm.
They completely tell us where we stand with things. And that is very, very important. Because, I could have the greatest magic happening to me. If I'm blind to it, then it doesn't happen. Then it's like I said, it is like that moment of life passes me by. Now, if, I have the great good karma, how you want to call it, to have a good astrologer pointing these things out to me, saying, hey, take heed, on this day, this and this is likely to come up. So prepare yourself, and when that moment comes, react differently.
Right.
So then I think
like
this
a foresight.
Yes, exactly. It's not a prediction, but it is something where I say,
opportunity.
An opportunity will arise and you can take it. Or, you can just walk along as always. The situation will arise because the energy is there. And, you still feel like, no, I cannot learn. It's like that chickening out that you...
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely missed on opportunities before in my life. And no regrets, but also just big learning experiences where it's like, wow, I had this opportunity and I didn't make the most of it because I was not equipped. So I don't know if it was really an opportunity or not, or just kind of like a preparation for future opportunities where I was equipped. So I think that's a whole nother issue, because if you're not really equipped for an opportunity, like say, oh, I could have gone bungee jumping, but I don't have a bungee. Is that bungee jumping? No, not really, but it could have put you on a path to get a bungee, to take lessons or understand. I don't know. Either way, the point is that I have had different experiences where I have chickened out and missed opportunities. And if I could have been kind of more prepared to see, like, oh, like an opportunity is coming up, to like kind of prepare a little bit more.
Like getting your cord before the time.
Getting my cord before the time, and then saying like, oh, like getting my bungee, and then, oh, then you're going to be able to use it in a month or so. Then I'd be like, oh, I'm prepared, I can do it. Rather than miss out on the opportunity. And then I think this is what's so mind-blowing. We've been talking about this for a while now. Like how so many opportunities have been missed while people have been locked down.
100%. But what I want to also say, and this probably plays right into that, is because then you don't have an excuse anymore. See, I mean, if you had a bad experience about, showing up to something that was considered outrageous, okay? So now the opportunity comes around again, like with that Wheel of Fortune that you said, like that keeps spinning, and now you can go bungee jumping again, but hey, you don't know anything about it, so here you stand and you say, well, I would love to do that, but I can't because I'm not equipped. See, and this is like where then people, like, they don't want to change. Like, it becomes about the not having the equipment and not about that fear of jumping anymore.
Oh, the excuse.
The excuse.
I don't have the equipment, so I can't do it.
That's right.
And that's really sad.
That's very sad.
That's intense. But it's also really inspiring because you could say, okay, I don't have the equipment, how do I get it?
Yeah, of course. But
I mean,
then it's a little bit, after the fact, because maybe the group of people you were with, they already did it. You missed that opportunity. Maybe that jump that you could have made would brought you in touch with your soulmate, for all I know. This will never be known.
Maybe, but I think the universe is all redeeming, within reason. I mean, it's not enabling, but it's redeeming.
Yeah.
So maybe this transit that's coming up is going to bring back opportunities that have kind of slipped away, like that have gotten a little bit illusioned or dissolved from Neptune, or we create new opportunities, which could also be, because I think it's so interesting. We've been talking about this for a while, like how many skills or opportunities or situations have been lost. Neptune being lost, also you're not being present. How many things have been lost just over the past 2 years?
Yeah.
Being locked in.
Yes.
And these things, I mean, they can come back in one way or another. However, not in that way, because
never.
Reincarnation, for example, we come back. We're the reincarnated or having a rebirth. Okay, they're two different things. But either way, you'll never come back again as who you are now.
Never. It's a one
unless
only.
Unless like you're on Groundhog Day or something. But even then, it's different.
He changed every time.
Every time was different.
Up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Every time was different, because even if you because time, like you can be reborn in different like you can be reborn in the past, like as we know it, or the future, like or different eras or whatever. But it's like, it's still going to be different.
Totally.
It's not going to be the same.
No.
Even if it's the same, it can never be the same. It's only unique in that time. So these opportunities are lost.
They're
lost.
100%.
So I think it's
life that has not been lived.
Life that's not been lived.
And in order to compensate for all the experiences that did not happen, I really don't want to sound like this crazy person, but all the people you did not meet because you could not be social.
Right.
All the people, you could not have what I call a full-face encounter because you had to wear a mask and stand like 2 meters away.
Yeah.
I know this sounds all trivial, but it's not. This is life that has not been lived. We have talked about it, like, what if a person, was supposed to meet their soulmate? I'm sorry, but soulmate's so close to my heart,
Yeah, me too.
But, had to travel and couldn't travel because there were travel restrictions. And now this moment has passed, and who knows when are the circumstances right again that they can meet again. Just imagine all the things that needed to happen for you and I to meet.
Yeah.
This is intense if you think about that.
Yeah.
And these moments, they can slip away like that.
Yeah, and
being locked down, they for sure happen.
And yep.
And the way then people compensate for not living their life is staring at a screen.
Yeah. Being a watcher. I remember this was one of the first teachings that I sat in on when you were formally teaching like that, which is like how you said that we've become a society of watchers, and that really stuck with me. And this makes so much sense now to see that, because we live vicariously through others. But also, I have to say, I think the main motivation here is to not hesitate, because think of the skill set also that gets diminished.
Yeah.
Now, I've been using astrology professionally for many years as a professional astrologer, but I've always been intrigued by it since I was little, and digging into my mom's books and getting online and reading everything and figuring out how chart calculations are going and saying, oh my God, this is amazing. You can do it on the computer now. I don't have to do it, with the crayons or whatever. And it was really interesting because I think it's like if you want to do something, like coming from the other side of presence, if you're working towards presence, then you should just do it. I mean, this could be like, Aries talking, but I really feel like sometimes you should just do it. Like you should just do it and see where you go, because I can even just speak for myself. Working with my chart, I had to overcome so many fears, and it was almost like this wind-up toy, because I mean, we were all in lockdown for a while because at the beginning there was no options to move out, right? And then it was like this wound-up toy of actions, and then as soon as I could act and do it with bravery, it's like I've been on this rocket ship, And so I think it's really interesting how each and every one of us, we can do that, and to not feel bad about ourselves for missed opportunities, but to say, no, I can learn from this, and I can become inspired to seize that moment, to be present, and then to know what to do.
100%.
Or at least to see what I need to overcome to live my life.
100%.
It's your life.
But for that, in order for that to happen, you have to put down your device.
Yeah.
And this is one thing we have been really strict about in lockdown. We still were abiding by our rules, like no device before 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
There are other things you have to do in the morning that are really, really more important than the last post on Instagram,
Right.
And then anyhow, we have the rule to never have a device at the table.
Mm-hmm.
And we were abiding by that too.
Mm-hmm.
And, and we made an extra effort to connect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I love connecting without the device. I totally agree with this, whether it's to other people in the world, and of course I connect to you with the device when I'm not around you. Of course, this is like as a tool, but I know who you are. I know what's going on. I think there's different ways to use that, but I really feel that on one hand the technology connects us even more, but a little bit more shallow. So it creates a wider connection, but it's not as deep. You still need both.
100%.
You need both.
Oh, I'm the first person to say yes to that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, that if we're still talking lockdown, lockdown and being present.
I have no idea what we're talking about. I'm just present with it.
Okay, yeah.
I can't tell you what it is.
Well, for me, it's still like we were lockdown and being present with lockdown. And there I just can hear you say, well, it's easy for you to say because, you're a couple and you're together,
Yeah.
but I'm living by myself. And
Yeah.
no, and Arik said it so nicely. We sometimes have to be separated, like every ordinary couple. Like if he goes on a business trip and I stay with Saya, and then, yes, then we use the technology. Or, my mom is in Germany, I'm here in Italy. Or when I lived in America, my mom still was in Germany. And, you use FaceTime, and that's technology, and this is wonderful. This is a great way to connect. I'm not saying that. Of course, we all like to have a hug. But, in lieu of that, like having FaceTime is a great way to connect. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about all the things where I have heard people who didn't even want to connect on FaceTime anymore or on Zoom or whatever, because all they wanted to do was to zonk out.
Right.
And zonking out is like, being clickbaited from one thing to the next and like totally spacing out, and in the end not knowing what they even were looking at or what they even were reading. It's
happening to a lot of people.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And these are the people who will not get back into presence until they get so distraught that they maybe do something bad to themselves.
Okay, so what's the solution for that?
Listen to our podcast and be present with that. Seriously, like if use your device in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
I mean, find a station, that is giving you inspiration, or, learn something.
I think it's about learning.
Yeah.
I think it's about learning and making the effort to connect. And I think it's also really important to know that you have to be brave to act and
Yes.
to act and to be present. And yeah, this is a very important podcast to listen to. And nobody should, hurting yourself is not the answer. I mean, I've heard of a lot of people, kind of going down that path.
Yes,
because
sadly we have.
because they don't see a way out. But I think it's important. So we have the full moons every month to use, and then a really intense, powerful process to kind of reboot yourself and to know, just to learn from your mistakes. I think that's the most important thing.
Yes.
Just learn from your mistakes.
Learning.
Learn from your mistakes and be inspired to be a better you.
Yes, and from your work with the brain that, and like hypothalamus or whatever it's called, it's like the thing that makes us happy as long as it learns.
Yeah.
And if it stops learning, it starts to shrink, and then we age and become unhappy.
Yeah.
And this is the only reason, I mean, the way I understand it is why we're aging at all, because we stop learning, because first of all, we've been there, done that, and stopping to learn is exactly the same as stopping to be present. Because the moment I am present with somebody else or something else, I am changed. And that means I have learned something.
So with that said, you can re-listen and relearn this podcast, because this has been Arik
And Aurelia.
and you've just listened to an episode of
Ageless.
Please share with someone in your reality, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.